Hey everybody, this is Nick from First Coast Math Clinic. In this video, we're going to cover Leetcode problem 175. This is a database problem combining two tables. It's a level easy. Let's get into it. All right, so problem 175, combine two tables. So it starts with the person table, which is person ID, the last name, first name. And we have an address table, which is the address ID, person ID, city, and state. And we look at our primary key for the person table. Person ID is the primary key. So it's a column with unique values for this table. And for the address table, the address ID is the primary key. But we notice that both of these tables have a person ID and a person ID. So maybe we can use that to combine these tables. And what we want to do is write a solution to report the first name, last name, city, and state of each person in the person table. If the address of the person ID is not present in the address table, report a null instead. So we want to get everybody in this person table and figure out their address, their city, and state. And if they don't have an address, city, and state, we want to return a null. So let's look at some of the sample inputs. So we've got two people, and we want Wang, Alan, Alice, Bob, and we want to return their city and state. So before we get into solving this, let's see if we can kind of diagram this out and look at what exactly is happening here, and maybe come up with a method to write out the query for this problem. Our person table and our address table, and we want to join this table, and we want last name, first name, city, and state to be returned. So that's going to be our output when we return our when we complete our query here. So let's figure out how we're going to join this. Let's figure out first, well, what do we have in common in these two tables for person and address? Well, if we're looking at both of these tables, we've got a person ID and a person ID. So we're going to have to connect those somehow, because those are in both tables, in the person table and in the address table. So let's think about how we can relate these two tables. So if I've got my person table here, so we can alias this as P, and it's going to overlap with our address table. We're going to alias that as A. So we know in our person table, we're going to have last name, first name. We're going to have our person ID overlapping because it's in the person table and in the address table. And our address table has city and it has state. So let's think of what we're going to do. All right. So if we start with our person table and say, all right, well, I want to take every one that's in our person table and our person ID and combine it with our address. So we're going to take everyone in our person table and combine it with the people in our address table based on our person ID. So let's start with our person ID here. We've got person ID 2. All right, that's this person right here. And we've got person ID 2 right here. So we're going to match up 2 and 2. So person ID 2, Alice, Bob is going to have New York City, New York. And we've got, get a different color there. Person ID 1, because we want the first and last name for each person. So we're going to get Alan Wang, so person ID 1. But we notice that we don't have a person ID 1 here. So what we should return here from our address table is going to be a series of null and null values. So to do this, we're going to do a left join. This is our left table. This is our right table. We want all the values that are in our left table, and we're going to join them with the values that are in our right table. All right, let's get into it and start writing our query to get our output. All right, so when we write our query, let's start with our from here. So from, we want our two tables, person, and I'm going to alias this. So person as P and address as A. And aliasing just basically renames the person table as P, so I can use P for the person table, A for the address table, so I don't have to keep writing address or person. I could just use P or A. So it's a little shortcut. So we've got the two tables that we want to use in our query. Now let's go look at what we want our output to be and add that to our select. So now we want first name, last name. So from our person, P dot first name and P dot last name. And then we want city for address, so A dot city and A dot state. All right, now let's think about what we did from from the diagram. We want everybody who's in the person table, and we want to join that with the address table. So we're going to have person as P, and we're going to do a left join. So we read our tables left to right. So this is our leftmost table, our person as P. So we're getting everybody in the person table, and we're joining with the address table. So if there's nobody in the address table, then we're going to get a null. We have to figure out, well, what are we joining on? And we know that both the person table and the address table have a person ID. So we're going to join on that person ID. So P dot person ID equals A dot person ID. And let's run this and see what we get. It's accepted. Let's submit. We submit it, beats 52.7% of the submissions. Now let's see if we switch this. So let's say we put address as A on the left and person as P on the right. Now let's think about what join we're going to do. We still want everybody in the person table. So if we do a left join here, and I submit that, actually let me run it first. We're going to get a wrong answer because it's pulling in all the addresses and trying to match it up with the people, but every address doesn't have a matching person. So if I'm going to group it like this, have addresses on the left, person on the right, remember I want every person to return, and whether or not they have an address, I want a null to return if there's no address. So I need to do a right join in this case, so it returns all the values on the right, which will be the person table. So now if I run this, that's accepted. And if I submit it, submit it again. So I hope this explanation helped you understand this problem a little bit more. If you like this description, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This is Nick from First Coast Math Clinic.